Awesome. Thank you, Abraham. And I'm going to rely on you to let me know if like any technical difficulties pop up here, if people can't hear me or anything like that. But thank you to everyone for dialing in. Hope your morning's going well. I'll get a little bit into who I am and introduce myself further. But this is a talk just a little bit about why we want to use data, why it's important, some tips and some tricks, some ways that we think about this at Google, where I work, and also some free tools that Google has for you to use this. I'm sorry, to actually dive into some data and just get into a mindset that, data has a better idea. So we want to make sure that we are moving to a place where data is what's helping us make decisions, not gut instinct and not anecdotal evidence. But we'll get into a little bit about that. So just first and foremost, just want to kick off and hopefully, people had opportunity to spend some time in reflection last Friday on the 155th anniversary of Juneteenth. If anyone's not aware of what that is, please go do some research and please check out the Google Doodle about Juneteenth. Really great remembrance of it, and I'm glad there's a lot more knowledge about this day. And also it's Pride Month, so I'd be remiss if I didn't say hello to any members of the LGBTQIA+ community, and I hope you all are having a great Pride Month and continue to celebrate. So just two things on the agenda today. Just number one, why data matters, and number two, some of these tools for growth. So there's probably a spectrum of out there and people watching in terms of how comfortable you are with data and numbers. Maybe just the notion of data scares the hell out of you. Maybe you're a data scientist. I don't know. I am not a data scientist. I am not an engineer. A lot of times when people know that you work at Google, they assume that you are some tech numbers whiz. That's not the case for me. I'm a business person. That's my forte. So, and part of this, right, is that you don't have to be a data scientist. You don't even have to like math to appreciate data and to use it to make your business stronger. A couple other things just real quick about me. So first and foremost, I am in my basement in Novi, Michigan. There's a whole furniture delivery thing going on. I have 3 kids that are running around. I have a puppy that's right over here. It's very likely that I'm going to get disturbed at some point by somebody. So I apologize for that in advance, but this is the world we live in right now. And so just wanted to make sure you know that I am as affected about this as anybody else. So I will try to get the interruptions to a minimum, but they could happen. Hi, I'm Matt. A couple of things about me. So I work at Google. I've worked at Google for 10 years. Google also owns YouTube, hence the logo there. I went to Michigan State. I'm from Royal Oak, Michigan. I went to Michigan State and I went to Notre Dame for business school. Primarily been a marketer my entire career. In the last 10 years at Google, I've been leading sales teams. Right now, my sales teams are primarily focused on small businesses and startups. So I've done a lot of work on the startup scene, mostly on growth, mostly talking to founders, ensuring that they have a solid business model, ensuring that Google is helping them meet their business model and their KPIs through advertising. I'm also on the board of the marketing department at Michigan State University. So hopefully everyone here is a Spartan fan and not a Wolverine. So I definitely consider myself more of a marketing person, a marketing strategy person, but I have a really big passion for startups and small businesses. And I've worked with, on the small business side, worked with thousands, and startup, I've worked with hundreds. So that's just a little bit about your new pal, Matt. But let's get into some of the information. So you probably know about Google. You've probably heard of it. And what Google does is our mission is organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Before Google, if any of you are old enough to remember, the internet was kind of like going into a library and all the books were on the floor. And you just had to find your book. But Google and other search engines, but Google ended up doing it the best, made it really easy to find what you were looking for. And that's what Google still does today, right? That's the value that Google provides to the world is if you need to know something, if you want to know something, if you want to learn about something, if you want to find something, buy something, you know, billions and billions and billions and billions of times every hour, people are typing things into Google. That data, all that data that Google captures gives us a point of view on what people want. Google is the biggest database of intent that exists in the world and has ever existed in the world. So very, very powerful in terms of what Google understands about consumers. So that's just a little bit about Google. I know you all know that what Google is, but you know, it's our mission, the why we do things, right, isn't for search. It's to organize the world's information and give it to people. So just 4 things that I want you all to keep in mind, just generally about data. So at Google, we have a phrase, and it's not just a Google phrase, I don't think we coined it, but we use it a ton, is that data beats opinions. And I'm going to caveat it by saying good data beats opinions, because not all data is good. It's not all, and sometimes good data is used in bad ways. But fundamentally, the currency that we use to drive things internally are numbers. You know, for example, if I go to my boss and say, "Hey, a lot of my startups need something," that's not going to impact her. Like, but if I go to her and say, "Hey, I have 100 startups that my team has talked to over the last month or the last 30 days, 45 of them are experiencing this issue. This is the solution. The impact of that is going to be A, B, and C," you know, and there's numbers throughout. That's the currency that we use in terms of driving behavior at Google and change at Google. So there aren't anecdotes. There aren't qualitative stuff, which helps. Qualitative can help you bring you to a hypothesis, but at the end of the day, we need numbers. And even it boils down to our performance reviews. So when I go to my performance review with my boss, you know, I'm not even gonna bring up anything unless I can prove it with numbers that I did something. So it's about impact and it's about data. So data beats opinions. The second thing I want to bring up is the difference between insights and data. So this is like, there's so many things written about this, like what's an insight, what's a data point. And by the way, like I see so many things even at Google, and you're talking about some of the most highly educated people in the world are bringing me things, and they're just data points, and that's fine, but it's not an insight. And the difference between these two things is that the data is what is happening, and the insight is why. And you need to know why before you take really good action. For example, if you were running a business, and if your business was a yoga studio, for example, and you knew from a data perspective that you just look at the people coming in and out of your store, that 75% of your customers were women. That's the data point. That's the what. So the why would be, why are 75% of your customers women? Is that the way it's supposed to be? How does that compare to just yoga aficionados in the state of Michigan? If half the people in Michigan that do yoga are men, but only 25% of your customers are men, why? So it's a push for you to understand that a data point is important, but you need to put that context against it or it's not usable. Measurement. So we spend a ton of time at Google talking to our customers about measuring things. We give a lot of tools, and I'll give you some later. The measurement is going to help you be less wrong over time. So when it comes to numbers, when it comes to data, when it comes to insights, you are going to be wrong. I'm wrong often, Google's wrong often, but as you get better at using them and using data, measurement's going to help you be less wrong over time. And the last thing I want to say to you is you don't have to be a math person to get this right. There are so many people out there that when you start thinking about numbers, they just like shrivel up into a ball. Like you don't have to be a mathematician. I'm not a mathematician. I did not study math. It's not my specialty. I don't consider myself to be a quantitative person. That that is no reason, there's no reason that I can't consider myself that way and not think about numbers and data. And you don't have to have reams and reams of data and have a statistically significant sample, because most businesses don't have that scale, don't have those numbers, don't have the tools to get that. But any data is going to be helpful. And again, even if it's just you look at the people that are coming into your store. If you see that there's lots of people that come in at the end of the week versus the beginning of the week. If you bring it to a website, we'll talk about Google Analytics later, but if you're seeing that a ton of people are coming to your website that are a certain age and at a certain time of the week, that's a free tool Google can give you. And then my push to you is to say, figure out why, not what. So you don't have to be a math person. Don't get scared about the numbers. They're perfectly fine, but definitely push yourself to use data to make decisions. So why data matters to your growth. Data helps you achieve your business goals. It helps you objectively measure that you achieve your business goals. That's important, and helps you understand why you met your business goals. So there's so many people out there that think they're doing a great job, but don't have an objective way to prove that. And until you dive into those numbers to prove that you're being successful, to prove that your business model is working. For example, a lot of customers, a lot of startups I work with will launch, they'll get, X number of users, they'll make money on those users, and things look great. But the reality is they haven't done anything yet, because they haven't really proven their business model to be successful, because those users that they got originally are not going to be the users that they need to continue to get. They've gotten like the lowest hanging fruit of customers, but they have no understanding of how to get that next 1,100, 1 million, depending on the size of the company, customers. And it's going to be different. It's going to cost more to get them. They're going to have to do it in different ways. They may be different people, different genders, ethnicities, different locations, et cetera, et cetera. So the data that they have potentially is, you have good data on your initial 100 customers, but that's not going to be the data set that you need, or the customers that are going to make your business scale. And not just knowing that, like objectively, hey, we are successful, here's the numbers, but why? The why is so important with data. One of my biggest soapboxes is that there's been a big push about data scientist. Like if you put data scientist on your resume, you're going to get jobs left and right. To me, it really should be about insight science. It's got the data points. Anybody can find numbers and put them on a screen. Very few people are good enough to tell you why these things are happening. So push yourself for the why. Just some terminology: data, that's facts, statistics. Analytics are patterns. At Google, we talk about analytics a lot. So the trends that are happening, over the last year, how did interest in mixed martial arts compare to the year before? And what's that trend look like? Insights, actionable value, the why that things are happening. So the push is to look at numbers to make business decisions rather than opinion or gut instinct. We have tons of customers that we are pushing every day to kind of like, what's your KPI? What is the number you're looking at to prove whether this is working? And they're like, we just know it's working. We can see it. We know. And Google is pushing these people to kind of say, that's not good enough. Like, you need to have this objective measure, and you need to be able to prove it, or you're just going to waste a ton of time. So your gut instinct isn't good enough in this day and age, and you shouldn't have to rely on that, because there's so many tips and tools and tricks out there that you could utilize. So why data matters to your business growth. So there's a lot of different things that data can help you understand. Who is your audience? So your audience, by the way, is the people that care about what you're selling. So it's not necessarily your demographics, it goes beyond that. I watch a lot of sports. I see about 1 million truck TV ads every year. I'm in that demographic for trucks. I will never buy a truck. I don't like them, right? So I'm in the demographic for Ford F-150, but I'll never buy it. But I'm not their audience. The audience is the group of people that would consider purchasing from you. How do you reach these people? How can you reach more of these people? How did your customers find you? How much does it cost to find a customer? How much will it cost to find the next 100 customers? What is the ROI of your marketing? Do your leads become customers? Why or why not? Where did you get your leads from? If you have 100 leads that rolled in last month and 20 of them became customers, what can you tell me about those 20 versus the 80 that didn't? Did they come from different places? Are they fundamentally different people or different businesses? Like getting into the why, right? Again, the fact that you have a 20% success rate with your leads is a data point. It is not a why, right? Did you meet your actual business goals? How many of your customers will buy again? Which types of customers buy again? Are people turning to loyal customers? Do loyal customers help you find additional customers? And again, I want to push you and kind of say, you do not have to have like degrees in statistics. You don't have to have paid tools to figure this out. If it's literally just you in a storefront or you online, you can record this in a spreadsheet. You can just say, that is better than nothing, right? And again, like you think about what's important to know about your customers and figure out a way that you're going to measure that. And this kind of brings me to this notion of what I call data intentionality. I don't even know if that's a word, for God's sakes, but what I mean by this is to be intentional from day one about data. And the way I would think about it is take a day and just whiteboard or whatever you have at home and think about, okay, in my perfect world, what would I know about my customers? If I could just know every single solitary thing about these people, what would that be? And jot all that down. And then work backwards from there and kind of say, do I have a path? Do I have the ability to know these things? And if yes, great, what is it? And what's your plan to actually capture that information? And if it's no, can you actually figure out a way to do that? And again, even if it's you on a spreadsheet with the 10 customers that called you today, what can you write down about them in this spreadsheet? And over time, you're going to be able to see trends in the data. And again, what you record about them is going to just depend on you. Do you want to know what industry they're in, what their gender, ethnicity, where they're calling from, how they found you, what their business model is? Is it a consumer? Is it a B2B? Is it another company? And which one of these people actually bought something from you? What questions did they have? There's so many things out there that you can record. Not everything is worth recording, but you've got to be intentional about what is worth your time to think about with your customers and understand about your customers. And then if you have that understanding, what would actually help you make business decisions. And so if you have a business model that's working, and if you think like, hey, if I'm doing this well, how am I going to know, right? So it's not just about that the cash register is ringing. It's not just about sales are piling in. It's like, how do you know if the right customers are finding you? How do you know if people are coming back? How do you know if these customers are successful and are with your products or services? How do you know how happy they are with you? How do you know how easy it was for them to find you? So there's so many different things that you can measure. You don't have to measure everything, but everybody needs to go out there and say, in this perfect world, if I'm wildly successful, what am I going to say about my business? And do I have a plan and a way to measure that those things are actually happening? And in my perfect world, what am I going to know about my customers or my target customers? And how am I going to measure that? So Google, we talk a lot about attribution. So Google is primarily a digital advertising company from a revenue perspective. And we talk a lot of our customers out of spending money with us because they don't have a really good way to measure whether or not that money is spent well. And by the way, from an advertising perspective, you all should do a million free things before you even start thinking about advertising. There's so many different free things out there that you all should start first. And so this is not really about advertising, but I do want to talk a little bit about attribution and why that matters to your business. So, this is kind of like a funny little example, but, and I'm just assuming this is the way people are meeting nowadays. I've been out of the game since 2003, but fundamentally, right, if two people are getting together, they're swiping right on Tinder, they go for a coffee date, they may go for a movie, assuming this is going to happen again, there's going to be somebody proposes to somebody else and two people get married, right? And then, so the question is, what actually led to the marriage, right? And so you don't have to think about this as like a marriage. Think about it as a sale, and think about this as a customer. How do they find you? How do they consider you? What touch points did you have with these customers or consumers along the way? And which of these touch points actually mattered in terms of getting to the ultimate sale or getting to this marriage? So if you ask Tinder, right, Tinder would say, we're responsible for this. They never would have happened without Tinder, right? Like, so 100% all the credit should go to us. If you ask the guy, he's going to say, listen, I'm the one that nailed the proposal. The proposal is what led to the marriage, because yeah, great, I can meet a ton of people on Tinder, but if I didn't propose to this person, the marriage wouldn't ever happen. But then if you asked a data scientist, they would be able to get down to a level to say, like, all of this stuff is important, and there's a way for us to understand how much credit to give to each step in this path. And this is super conceptual and probably confusing, but the exact summary here is that from the time that your customer understands that they need something and the outcome of them actually buying that from you, there are multiple steps along the way, and they're all important for you to understand as a business owner. And there's tools to help you with this, but fundamentally, it's up to you to make sure you understand, because they could find you, right, online, they could call you, and they may never ever go any further than that, right? But they could find you online, they could call you, you could have a follow-up presentation with them, you could convince them to purchase from you. They can come to your website and research that type of thing, read your blog, go to Amazon, look at reviews. All these steps are important, and you need to understand all these touch points. And as it relates to the touch points that you spend the most time thinking about, the reality is it's not just, it's all about that first phone call, or it's all about them finding you online, or it's all about you closing the deal. Every little step along the way is important. One of the key things that I see my startups not doing is really understanding lifetime value. So a lot of my startups that I work with in small businesses are obsessed with getting a sale. And that's a great thing. Obviously, we need to make sure the cash register is ringing, but they don't have a way to understand who are the most profitable customers, who are the customers that are going to come back, who are the customers that are actually going to tell other people to come to your business or to buy from you, right? And the reality is not every sale is the same impact on your business when you consider everything that a customer can do for you via word of mouth, via purchasing a lot, via purchasing more things, via being upsold later on. So my push to you is to not just focus on initial customer cost per acquisition, getting that one customer out the door. Be intentional about measuring the lifetime value of your customer. Lots of businesses are undervaluing themselves. Lots of businesses, even like venture scale startups that are raising millions of dollars from investors, are undervaluing their business because they're not intentional about measuring lifetime value. Because the customer can be so much more important to you than just that initial sale. I worked in a restaurant for many, many years. We lived and died by our customers that came back all the time, right? Every customer that came in, we were really intentional about having a relationship with them, getting them signed up for our email lists. Like, it's just all these ways to make sure we are nurturing customer relationships. So not every customer is worth the exact same amount to you. Have a way to measure lifetime value. This is an enormous problem for startups, mostly because they're not thinking about it, and they should. One of the things that we talk a lot about at Google and with our startups and with all of our businesses really is that the customer path to get to you is so fragmented, and it's not just this linear thing. Like, they have a problem, they look on Google for you, or they see an ad on Facebook or Google, or they go to Amazon and purchase something. That can happen sometimes, but the reality is, for a lot of things and a lot of especially like large purchases, they're going to do a lot of stuff. They're going to ask their friends. They might meet you at a trade show. They may Google things. They may look at somebody that they know uses your product and talk to them and kind of say, hey, like, how is that going? Do you like that? Is it working for you? They get it from word of mouth. They go to Google, right? They go to Amazon. It's all over the place, and it's up to you to understand this. So there are tools that Google and other companies can give you. Some of them are free, some of them aren't. But the reality is, like, you have to take ownership of understanding your customers' path to getting to you. And you have to have a way to understand which of these points are the most effective. One of the best questions that businesses have been asking for centuries is, how did you hear about us? Like, where did you, when you decided to come in this door or to come to our website, how did you know that we existed? And like, we actually aren't asking just simple questions like that enough, and the other thing about these green dots that just come up, it's like, purchase isn't the end of it. You really got to focus on the customers that are going to buy from you and rebuy and become loyal and then become advocates. Who are your advocates? How are they different than the customers that are purchasing but are not repurchasing? What is the date? Like, so if you, for example, let's go back to our yoga studio. If you were running a yoga studio and 50% of the, or 100, I'm sorry, if 50% of the people that come into your yoga studio on one day are men, and then a week later, only 25% of the people that come into your yoga studio are men, is it because, number one, men aren't coming back? Number two, are more women coming? Like, just digging into those types of trends are really, really important for you, is really important for you. So that's just a little bit about why data matters. Now I want to flip it into just some specific tools that you can use that are free. And again, like, I know a lot of you probably understand all this, but I know some of you probably don't. But there are a lot of free things for you to use to help you make better decisions over time, to help you be less wrong over time. So I don't know if any of you know what Google Trends is, but it's a really, really cool tool. It is 100% free. And you can go into this, just Google Trends, and you can actually type in a search term. So it could be, it could be like industrial lighting. And you can type it into Google Trends, and it'll tell you how interest in this category is evolving over time. And you can change the date range. You can change it like to be the world, be the US, be Michigan. Even for some terms, you can get down to like the Detroit area. It just depends on the volume of these searches. And you can see different things. So for example, it shows you, like, so I'm going to be, I actually, by the way, I don't even do yoga. Just, for some reason, I just wanted to bring that in here. And I think it's probably because last year when I gave this talk, one of the people that came was somebody who was running a yoga studio. So this is an example. I just typed in yoga and I made the date range the last 12 months and then Michigan. So over time, you can kind of see that. And by the way, this isn't number of searches. This is an index of interest. So basically 100 is like the highest this could ever, like, this was over the last year. And but it's not like a number of search. It's basically like it's hard. It's kind of a conceptual thing, but it's not number of searches. It's just a relative number of how interested people are in this. And so if you see this trend is that people were most interested in yoga in Michigan, whenever that was. So like around December, right? And then again, you can dive into other things. And one of the cool things that I think Google Trends gives you is queries and related topics. So for example, that it gives you, so people that are interested in, that are searching for yoga, what are they also searching for and what types of yoga? So if I'm a yoga studio and I see over here on the right that white buffalo yoga, CRZ yoga, full lotus yoga, born yoga, and soul yoga, these are what people are really caring about when it relates to yoga in Michigan. So if I'm a yoga studio, I'm going to be very interested in understanding what these things are. Are these different yoga studios? Are these yoga techniques that I should be teaching? So I could actually make a business decision to say, born yoga, I have no idea what that is, right? But assume that it's like a different type of yoga. Maybe I need to hire a born yoga instructor and make sure my people out there know that I provide born yoga. Related topics. So these are things that are also related to when people are searching for yoga. So the right is people actually that are searching for yoga are also into Google searching for white buffalo yoga or CRZ yoga. On the left, these are just tangentially related topics to people that are into yoga. So again, like go play around with it. I will warn you, there isn't going to be data for every single solitary query. It just depends on how much people are searching for. Like if you went to trends and you typed in your business, there probably isn't going to be data there because not enough people are searching for your business. But if you typed in Amazon, there'd be lots of numbers in there for you. But it just helps you understand different trends and different related queries and related topics. So dive into that. We do have a product, and I don't actually know a lot about it, but it's called Shopping Insights. And again, like this is probably only going to let you understand trends and consumer behavior and interest in specific products that are very, very, very like well known. So, like if you went in here and you wanted to compare Nike versus Adidas and how people are comparing those things and how much more interest in that there is in Nike versus Adidas and specific products breaking down from there in different geographies, this is a good product. Like if you are like, again, you're searching for something that's very niche, there's not going to be data here. But fundamentally, this is another free tool. You can just go to Google Shopping Insights, and you can actually see different specific products and how interest is changing over time. You can actually look just in a specific industry. So if you click on the right where it says add comparison, if you just clicked on that, there's different industries that you could pull up, and you could actually look at business and industrial in Michigan. What are the top things that people are searching for? So just another insights tool for you to use. I'm not sure if any of you know what Google Alerts are, but you could go to Google Alerts. You just go to Google, search Google for Google Alerts, and there are specific topics that you could sign up for. And that actually gives you, when there's news, you can change the frequency, change the sources of the information, web blog, languages, blah, blah, blah. But fundamentally what this will give you is news about something specific. So if you are a startup that's running an app that alerts people to events around them at any given time that they might be interested in, you may be somebody that wants to have Google alerts for Detroit concerts or Detroit athletic events or things like that. So you can be the first to know that these things are happening, and you can actually make sure your app is on top of these as well. So that's just one specific example. Going back to our yoga studio, I would absolutely, if I was running a yoga studio, I would have yoga Detroit, yoga Michigan, top yoga trends as my Google alerts. And these are going to pop into your inbox, and it's going to keep you up to date with what people are searching for and what news is out there about what you care about. And again, free. So this one is something that so Google Analytics, for anyone who doesn't know, this is one of the best, most interesting, most impactful tools that exist in the world right now as it relates to your customers and your data, and it is free. And so if you have a website and it does not have Google Analytics on it, like if you do nothing else based on this conversation, become a Google Analytics expert. So it's free, it's powerful, and it's Google giving you this amazing tool for free. I mean, we could charge so much money for this, and there are like very, very expensive versions of this that 99% of the world would never need, but it is so free. So there's no excuse that you don't have analytics code on your website and you're not looking at this data. So it helps you understand who's coming to your website, how they interact with your website. If you're doing digital advertising, it'll help you understand what digital channels are driving valuable engagement or sales. And by the way, it'll measure not just Google Ads, it'll measure Facebook, other things as well. And then hopefully it'll give you two insights, right? The why things are happening and help you activate on that. So some of the specifics, so it'll help you understand how users are engaging with your site, what pages they go to, how often they stay there, where do they bounce, stuff like that. How, do they come from mobile? Do they come from desktop? Are they coming from social sites? Are they coming from paid sites? Are they coming from other different sources, where other blogs, blah, blah, blah. Again, outreach campaigns, your marketing helps you make them more effective and accountable. Are these things actually working? How do you improve your on-site experiences, right? So if you know that there is a point in your website where people are just leaving immediately, right? You could say they go to the site and they go to this page and then they leave almost immediately. That's a problem. And you can figure out then, well, hey, maybe I need to make some changes to this page to keep people there. Just a little visual about how the tool looks. So, it'll help you understand who your users are, right? Your audience are the sort of like the people that are actually coming to your web page. Where are they coming from? So this is super helpful, right? If you know half the people are coming to you from Facebook, you can do things with that information. If you know that 10% of your traffic is coming from a specific blog, like why? What's going on there? Like, just again, dive in a little bit more. Behavior. What are they doing? Are they going to different sites? Are they going to different pages? What types of information are they actually seeking out? It'll help you understand what your customers are actually looking for. And if you know that everybody is going to 5 different pages but ending up on one, then maybe you want to make that page or that information on that page your front page or on your front page, because people are spending so much time finding it, right? And potentially users are giving up on you. And you can see that, like, hey, this path is for them to get to this information, or they have to click on 5 different things on my website, and every single solitary click, I lose 20% of people. So if that's so important, maybe you want to bring that information forward. And analytics will help you. And are you driving conversions, right? So if you have if you have a website on which people are taking a specific and measurable action. So for example, they can buy something, they could fill out a form and become a lead. They can, you can actually make a conversion that they click on like your address, or they click on like information about your phone number, whatever you want to set up as a conversion. It's like a goal that you want somebody to do. It's like a goal that you want them to do on your website. You can actually measure who's actually, like, how good are you doing at these different conversions and who is doing it, right? So if you say like lots of users are converting, on Mondays and Tuesdays, but next to nobody's converting on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Why? What's going on there? There's a slight amount of information on demographics. I believe it's just age and gender. Google does have some of this information to provide it to you. And again, like, if you're looking at these numbers, see the majority of their customers are between 18 and 44. Why? Like, is that how the business should be? How does that compare to general interest in the category that you're in over time? Is it different than most people in your category? Is it the same? Is it exactly as you intended? Is it not? And gender split as well. It also gives you some information on your users. So there are different categories that Google can bunch people in or put people into based on their their interests online. So, and you can actually use this information. So for example, if you know that, so if you looked at this data here, you know that a lot of this business's users, or at least their website, the people that go to their website, are really into tech. They're into movies, they're into TV, they're into mobile. So the users for this business are very tech centric, right? What can that business owner do with that information? And again, like potentially this isn't just a tech business, but maybe they understand that their users are also people that are into technology. And how can you use that? You can use it for, well, I'm going to advertise on tech blogs, or I'm going to advertise on tech websites, or I'm going to figure out where tech people hang out, and I'm going to go there and I'm going to talk to them and understand, which ones of them would buy from me and what not. You could do qualitative research, right? So this will just actually help you understand a little bit more about your users, people that come to your website, based on their internet history. Now, again, this is not going to give you specific information about any one individual. It's going to give you broad-based groups because of privacy, right? We're not going to tell you that, hey, you had 10 people come to your website. One is named Bob, one is named Alan, one is named Gretchen, and here's what Bob, Alan, and Gretchen do. It's absolutely not at that level. It's going to give you broad-based trends. But like, if you do nothing else after this talk, make sure that your website is set up with Google Analytics, and make sure you understand. It is like such a great tool, and it's amazing that it's free, and you need to make sure you're diving in there. Some of you may be aware of what Google My Business is. So if you have a storefront, if you want your business listing to pop up on Google. So for example, if you just went to Google right now and you typed in, Pizzapopolis, Detroit, there's probably going to be a listing on the right that has Pizzapopolis and has some information about it, their reviews on Google, their hours, those types of things. So that, again, this is a free service that you could use. Google.com/mybusiness. It'll help you pop up. This is what it looks like on mobile and desktop when someone types in Honolulu Cookie Company, Waikiki. So it just helps you own the space when people are looking for you. So make sure you look into that. Again, free. And the last thing I'll talk about, Google Ads. So I purposely don't want this to be an advertising-based conversation, even though it's what I do. But if you are somebody that has every free tool to unlock, if you are somebody who believes that your website experience is good, your mobile website experience is good, it's very clear how people can actually take the action on your website that you want them to, potentially you should start thinking about advertising as well. And Google Ads are, the most effective advertising platform of all time. It is how Google makes money. It's $120 billion, growing 20% year over year for Google. Ads show up on Google on the top. Sometimes there's shopping ads you see on the right, where it's like if somebody types in something, then there's actual like pictures of them. You're only charged when somebody clicks on your ad. And then if you have analytics set up, you can understand, are these people actually converting customers? Google Ads will also show up on partner websites. So you may see something that says like ads by Google on different websites. But if you're going to do search engine marketing, if you're going to do any marketing, make sure you have specific goals. Make sure your ads don't suck. Make sure that you are controlling where those ads are showing up. Make sure you have an understanding of, are you going to be paying for clicks? Are you paying for phone calls? Do you want to pay for a phone call? Because Google can send a lot of people calling you, but are they calling you and they're just asking what your hours are and you're paying for that? Is that worth it for your business? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And you need to be able to track performance and improve via analytics. So don't do advertising to do advertising. Do everything free. Make sure you understand your business. Make sure you understand all the free tools I gave you. And then if you're thinking about growing from there, you can start getting into Google Ads. And it's complicated, but also fairly intuitive if you spend some time up front trying to learn about it. So with that, that's all the content I have. I think we have some time for questions. So Abraham, I'll invite you back in to see if there's any questions for us.
Awesome, great timing. I turned my video back on. I hope you can see me. We do have some questions. Thank you very much, Matt, for that. I learned a lot. I didn't know all those free tools that were available. I knew of a couple of them, but not all of them. So I was hoping we could kick it off with a question from Vlad. He asked really early on in the session. Right now, at my startup, I feel like we're using a bit of a heavy-handed approach when it comes to gathering data points. We just collect as many as we can and pull insights from that. In your experience, is this just the process for early stage startups? Any resources to dig deeper into finding insights from the data?
Yeah. So, I mean, like anything else, Vlad, it's going to depend. I think what you really want to do is spend some time thinking about what data actually matters to you making a business decision or your customers making a decision to purchase from you. You could collect anything. You could collect for example, if you've met 10 customers last week and you met them face to face, you could collect data on how tall they are, but that might not matter to you, right? Like their height has absolutely no bearing on whether or not they're actually becoming customers. So that's a silly example, but I'm just using it to make sure that we know that like there's a million things that you can collect, or million data points that you can collect. The vast majority of them aren't going to be useful. So focus on the 20% of the data points that you're collecting that are actually going to make 99% of the impact for you. And so, but you're going to have to spend some time really thinking about that, right? What are the 2 or 3 things, the 4 or 5 things, not the 10 things that we could know about our customers that impact whether or not they purchase from us? And it's going to be different for every business. So I mean, it could literally be how they found you, and how long it took them or how long it took you to close a sale. Maybe it's literally just 2 things, but maybe it's a couple of different things, and it's going to be different for every customer, or I'm sorry, it's going to be different for every business. It just depends on what you do. On the tools perspective, like if you are running a startup and people are coming to your app, people are coming to your website, like really become good at Google Analytics. Like there's no reason that you're not like diving into those numbers. If people are converting online and you have that data, and again, a conversion could be them clicking on a link, it could be them watching a video, it could be them finding a specific phone number that's only available on your website, and then they call you with that number, and then hey, like this person had to have come to my website for this number, and you collect that information. That could be a conversion that you're tracking. Like who is doing that, how often, the percent of people that come to your website that are actually taking those actions, the people that don't, how are they different than the people who do? So I would spend some time with Google Analytics as well.
Thank you very much, Matt. Another question is, going back to Google Trends that you showed earlier, an attendee is asking if you could explain what relative meant. Like, was it an index based on per 100 searches?
Yeah, let me see if I can just go back here real quick. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, so there's related topics and related queries. Okay. So again, this is this little blue line you see down here is just is an index of interest. So it's not number of searches. So 100, right, is like the most people were interested about yoga in Michigan over the last is the 100 line over the last 12 months was in, looks like January. I don't know why that is. It could have been because of people are really interested in getting into yoga at the start of the year. It's their New Year's resolution. Who knows? This stuff is the related. So if you go to Google Trends, you search something, this is the first thing you're going to see. Right below it are these 2 things. The one on the right are basically saying is that people that are also searching for yoga in Michigan, because that's what I put Michigan, are also they're also going to Google and typing in White Buffalo Yoga. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And that's what breakout means. Breakout means that this is the amount of people, like it's like the hot thing that more and more people are searching for every single solitary day. It's a rising trend, right? And then you see like Born Yoga, for example, interest in Born Yoga is up 200% over the time frame that I set up here. So the time frame is last 12 months. Over the last 12 months, interest in Born Yoga and Soul Yoga is up 200%. And then the interest in CRZ Yoga, Buffalo Yoga is so high, there's not even a number to give it. It's saying that over the last 12 months in Michigan, people are just going crazy and searching for these things. On the left, these are related topics. So this isn't necessarily what people are searching for, but it's Google knows based on people who do search yoga, they are also interested on these things based on their web behavior. So on the right, it's like actually specific searches. On the left, it's like what Google knows about people that's searching for yoga, not necessarily just due to the specific searches that they're putting in, but also what else they're doing online. Hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Matt. Another question from Deborah is, how does Google Analytics mine user data?
So I don't know what you mean by mine user data. And I want to be clear that, Google takes privacy very seriously. There is no information in analytics that, or available to people that use analytics about any one specific user. What it does, it aggregates data. So it's going to understand that the specific people that are coming to your website act online in specific ways, right? We're going to know if they're male or female, how old they are, and then what they're doing else online, right? And this is going to be aggregated at a very high level. So you're not going to know, hey, this person that came to my website's name is Jane, and Jane also searches for investing information, and she's the CEO of X company. Like, you're not going to know that information. Google might not even know that information. But what you're going to know is, out of all the people that came to my website last week, they're interested in these things. They operated this way on my website. They came from these places. So the information about any one individual is not there. It's more of a broad-based trend. So again, without knowing exactly what you mean by mining user data, I don't believe that's what, based on my evaluation of what you're asking, Google Analytics doesn't mine user data. It basically just aggregates trends about your users based on what they do online and gives it to you in an anonymous way.
I wrote a question earlier in the chat that maybe you can help me out with. How can startups or small businesses innovate to compete in web traffic against industry giants in their industry with regards to SEO or search engine optimization for the audience?
Yeah, and search engine optimization, for anyone who doesn't know, this is when you type in Google, fundamentally, right? If you were running a business and it's a direct-to-consumer mattress business, you're selling mattresses online. When somebody goes and types in best mattress, ideally you're the first person that pops up. Search engine optimization is the process to get you as high up on Google as possible without paying for that spot. And there's lots of people that do this for a living. The reality is that, like, the best thing that you can do is to be very relevant to what somebody is searching for. So if your business wasn't selling mattresses online and somebody types in best mattress online, like, you shouldn't show up there, right? And there's nothing that you're going to do to get there because you don't sell that product that people are looking for. So the customers and the businesses that show up top are the ones that are most relevant for whatever the person is searching for specifically. So what you can do is make sure that your website, you can think about, hey, like, in the category that I'm in, what are the top 10, 20, 50, 100 things that people are going to type into Google and search for that I actually can help with, that I'm relevant to, and make sure that your website speaks to those things. And then make sure that when people come to your website, they find what they're looking for. So if I type in, SaaS platform for finance companies, and I see your website and I go there, and then where I end up is absolutely nothing to do with SaaS platforms, I'm going to leave that's going to make you fall down in the rankings in Google. So SEO is definitely an art and a science, but it really comes down to relevance. You have to be relevant for what somebody's typing in. And if you're not, you're not going to show up. And then the question is, well, how does Google measure relevance? It really is about when people search for something, do they go to your website? Do they stay on your website, or do they leave your website immediately? So that all being said, I am not an SEO expert at Google. Like, I'm in the paid marketing side. It is church and state how we separate those things, SEO from SEM. But I can tell you it's all about relevance, because Google is about user experience. If you go to Google and you search for, best blender, Google needs to make sure it gives you information about blenders and reviews for blenders and product ads about blenders that have reviews in them, because that's a good experience. We're not going to show you TVs and vacation homes, because that's not what you're looking for. You have to be relevant. Your website has to be relevant. Your website has to be a good experience that people don't go to and leave immediately. You can use analytics to help you with that piece.
Thank you. Another great question from Paloma is, what metrics would you prioritize to measure social media success for startups?
Okay. So I hate to be the guy that always says it depends, but it depends on your business, right? The answer to this question for a B2B SaaS platform is so different than a company that is selling pillows, right? And it also depends on your business model. So if your business model is e-commerce, that's different than if your business model is lead gen. It's different than if your goals for social media, like, what are your goals for social media? Are you using social to engage with an audience and grow an audience that come to your website then to purchase? Is your goal on social media to actually sell your product on social media? Is your goal on social media to drive awareness for your product? Is your goal on social media to engage with the people that actually have already purchased from you and to build a community? So my suggestion to you is to really be clear on what you use social media for. And when you have those goals, then you can then say, here are the things that I need to be looking at in social media to know if this is useful to me hitting my goals. So I hate to be that guy that says it depends, but it depends on your business model, your business goals and objectives, your goals and objectives as it relates to social media. And then when you figured all this out, then you can say, okay, out of all that, where's the social media fit in? And how do I know if it's actually fitting in?
And then a follow-up question to that is, what is the best metric to measure quality engagement on a website?
Yeah, good question. People vote with their clicks, and by that I mean that you can look at the time people spend on each individual website. You can look at the amount of different pages people go to on your website, so that they come to your homepage and they leave immediately. You can use analytics to figure that out. You're going to understand so there's something wrong there. But then if you want people to actually spend time going through different pages of your website, you can look at, hey, each person that comes to my website clicks on 5 different pages. So they are actually into what I am offering them. And then you can also look at, well, half of people that get to this 3rd page leave immediately. So there's something on that 3rd page that makes them leave. And only half of people go to that 4th and 5th page. And who are the people that go to the 4th and 5th page? And how are they different than the people that went through the first 3 and then left? From a demographics, from an age, from a source? Do people that come from social media come to your website and leave immediately? And the people that come through Google come and stay for 5 minutes and go to 10 different pages? Analytics can help you figure that out. So, but the exact summary is the amount of different pages on your website they go to, the amount of time they spend on your website are the 2 biggest ones.
I guess a lightning round, because we do have very little time left and I want to respect your time. A question from Deborah, follow up. Where does the data itself about users come from? From cookies?
Yeah. mostly it's cookies at this point, and we're a lot of it is logged in users too. So, right now on my phone, like I'm logged into Google on YouTube TV, on just looking at my apps on Gmail, right, and on Maps. And so Google understands that people that are logged in across all these devices and these apps, how they're using these different things and what they're interested in, and that all gets anonymized. So cookies historically has been one way that we've done that. I think that world is definitely shifting. Yep.
And then I guess a last question to conclude this session is, what are some trends in data Google has witnessed since the beginning of the pandemic has increased in the US?
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, Ibrahim.
Have users been searching hyper locally or nationally?
So people are using their computers more, and so people are searching for more things. People are using YouTube a lot more because they're looking for content, that type of stuff. People are definitely searching for different types of things. They're searching a lot more for at-home workouts, delivery app near me, like stuff like basically searching for things that can be brought to your home. In terms of regionally or like locally or nationally, I actually haven't seen any data on that, and so I actually don't know. But based on my customer base, which is over 1,500 customers, small businesses and startups, I haven't seen any trends that say that people are more likely to search nationally versus locally for things. Doesn't mean it's not there, but I would tell you what is a trend is there specific categories people are searching for right now. And the biggest trend overall is people searching for things that can get to them where they are versus things or experiences where people have to leave their house. So historically, you might have gone to a restaurant. Now you're looking for a way for that food to get to you. Historically, you might have gone to a gym. Now you're looking for ways for content about working out to be in your house. So it's less about regionally or nationally. It's about who can get you things in a product or service in your actual home.